even when we were adolescents, had this idea that maybe one day we would adopt, and that was independent of each other. We didn't know each other then. And then when we got married, it was always kind of in the background, oh, maybe one day we'll adopt. That sounds like something we'd like to do.
So adopting a child is something that I've wanted to do. Even back in high school, junior high, I always thought if I had a family, I'd want to build the family through adoption. So this is really a dream come true, that plan A, how I've always wanted it to be.
But it didn't start becoming real to us until Kyrie, our oldest, she's 6 now. She was 1 year old, so she was asleep and Jesse and I were watching a movie, and it was kind of one of those post-apocalyptic movies, and it had an orphan in it. And it really had nothing to do with adoption or anything like that. But Jesse and I, after that movie, we started talking and just thinking about how blessed we are to have been raised in believing homes, to have been given opportunities for schooling, and that we were raised in safe and healthy places, and how just like there's cycles of poverty and abuse, there's also cycles of blessing. And so we kind of at that time talked about how do you make your cycle of blessing go beyond your bloodline, right? We can bless our children with our faith and with our health and all those good things, but how do we bless those who are trapped in other cycles, right, that aren't as good? And so it was then we're like, maybe if we're gonna adopt, this is something we need to start looking into.
And I've been serving overseas with the church for quite a few years, and I didn't understand that it could actually happen, especially as a single woman. And it was just pretty much about 2 years ago now that I realized there was processes in place, I could do this. So I hooked up with Christian Adoption Services, found out a bit more information, and I have to say I'm sort of the unheard of case. There were no hitches, everything went quickly, went smoothly, and this has been great.
We knew it was going to be a huge financial investment, really, and that was a huge thing looming, right? That we would need to come up with, especially Eastern Europe. It was going to be like $35,000 total. So that was a big number. It's a big number for a single income family with little kids at home. Jesse's at the beginning of his career. There are needs even where we live at home in Canada. And I think at the beginning we had said, oh, there's a system that supports these kids, and there's foster families. What about all the kids sitting in orphanages, right? But as we started to just consider it and pray about it, it seemed our hearts kind of connected to the local need. And when we got back from China and seeing our culture from a different perspective and a different viewpoint, it really made us think and realize that there are kids, though maybe not orphaned in the traditional sense, kids who are orphaned and abandoned here at home. And so then we started our process with that, just little by little, doing some training, learning different things.
As having worked overseas most of my adult life, I didn't have savings. I mean, when you're a missionary, you're kind of living each year to each year, so I didn't have a savings. So once I had her, I knew that I had a good job now and I would be okay going forward, but that huge lump sum is just so insurmountable to first do. So the bursary was extremely helpful.
We were like, hey God, we have no idea how we're going to do this. How are we going to come up with this money to be able to follow these dreams that we believe you've given us? And it was actually soon after that Susan came up and spoke at McKernan and was talking about Spirit of Adoption and how they were offering financial support to families who were looking at adoption. And at that moment, it was like God was just speaking to us like, I am going to look after you. You know, if you are faithful and you're obedient, then I will look after you. And so that Sunday was actually a really significant point for us in just releasing that unknown of how we're going to come up with all of this.
I am so thankful for Susan St. Martin and for her advocacy of me through this whole process. and just her seeing me for who I am, and just seeing the potential that I had as a mom and for creating a family. It was difficult sometimes to be accepted as a single mom wanting to do this, but I know that Susan really advocated, and I recognize and appreciate the fact that I'm the first single mom to receive a grant from Spirit of Adoption, and I'm so thankful for her support and her encouragement. It meant a lot. That was
Thank you.